So why fashion? So my interest in fashion, basically I was a Barbie kind of girl, and making my parents buy dolls after dolls. I collected many, like I still have like boxes of them, and I used to dress them up, making that Barbie stylish look and create those little catwalks to walk them on. But I also had this thing for Bollywood movies. So coming towards like Kuch Kuch Hota Hai or K3G, and like, an all-time favorite is Mohabbatin. Like I fell in love with those stories, dancing to the music, and their acting. But I also felt like in love with the actresses, and also pulled off how they pulled off such amazing outfits. And I think, um, looking back, I've seen how designers work with their garments and how I can actually bring that into like today's time. And that's actually like the intricate details that they put on is really inspirational for me. And having like a multicultural background, being born in Canada, lived and living in London, and landing in Nairobi, and on top of that being in a smiley background of having that Indian culture too. I got to understand like who I am, and it's a diverse identity and culture that I lie within myself. So the careers in fashion today, um, is part of the one of the skill shares I'll start with. So, a fashion requires, okay, the basic requirements is creativity and understanding the types of areas in fashion. But and as a fashion designer, you don't necessarily need to be creative. You just have to have that kind of use for being able to understand what the fashion world is all about, and being able to relate to those pieces. And you can develop those skills in different types of courses. um yeah, so another thing I wanted to point out was how or why it impacts you, me and the Jamaat. So as we go to Kane, I see everyone wearing Indian outfits, Western, casual, smart, formal. And it's one thing that brings joy to me when I see people coming to Kane just to pray also, but to also see everyone wearing their best dressed outfits, or their shoes, or their bags. And that's always something that stands out for me. And I feel like um, that wearing traditional clothes, it's a festive occasion, and it's not only to show respect, but also to reflect like traditional values of your cultural background. So that's something that means something to me towards both using fashion towards the Jamaat. And another skill share I wanted to point out was common misinformation. So technically in fashion, there happens to be this misinformation, like this misguidance that um, you know we're only doing the practical works of things, and it's an easy thing, and we get this people coming to us and saying that it's all about the glamour, and it's not, it's just shopping and you're sewing, which is so easy to do, but technically it really isn't. And people criticize how we dress, um, you know, and you know, um, I guess I guess people don't really understand like what it is behind fashion, and people do also say that we're the cause of the climate change, or climate damage, like we've damaged the climate. with our wastage of materials. So just to clarify, it's not all of that. It's more of like, you know, there's so much more to it behind the fashion industry that we want to we want to let the world understand more in order for us to build that certain relationship with everyone. And so so now I'll talk about basically what I do. So my course is called Raynard's Fashion Bags and Accessories. So it's a product design and innovation. So basically what we do is we do design bags. That's our main thing. But we do look at all sorts of things. So it's not only about having to create the bags. Like, we don't sit in the studio all day and making those bags. There's quite a lot to do behind the work, including like a digital form of it, and there's a digital form to it, and there's a theoretical form to it. So you have to be able to understand how to create, like, from step one to the last step in order for you to move forward to make that bag. And there's also so many lectures and seminars, industry projects, tutorials, and you know, we get like these surprise guest speakers like a creative director from Louis Vuitton, you know, and we get to go on like work experience. And within the third year would be our placement year. So it'd be going into like fashion industries where you're getting to learn and experience the work from some of the best designers in the industry today. So this is some of like, so I'm just kind of sharing a bit of what I do in class. So this is some of the recent work that I've done, and it comes to about like, what happens is you have to do the business side of it for business side of creating a range of products. So I've come across, so we've happened to shift online, completely online till now because of the COVID situation. So we tried to do all these digital illustrations, and we've managed to come across you know, learning different skills and techniques, and using the Adobe Creative Suites. And you know, I've never used these things before, and yet I've been able to build such like such pieces. And so I thought I'd put together some of the pieces that I've done in class so far, so that people can understand that, you know, it's not all about sewing. It's more of like, it's majority of the work is done online and done within the research and the design area before you can create that bag. Yeah, so basically I did this in like free time, and it's basically just practice and patience is the key to everything. And then there's a few key takeaways that I'd like to just give a bit about. Yeah, so so for anyone that's wanting to go into fashion and that's not like doesn't really want to do the fashion design itself, or wants to do something with it but doesn't know exactly where. So basically we start with like foundation courses in art and design or fashion design, or you can even do your A levels or IB in art. And you build on like these portfolios in order for you to know who you are and where you stand in the industry. So it comes between, you can do, there's the fashion design part of it, and there's also like the business side of it. And you can do things like textiles. There's also fashion psychology, styling, photography, journalism, there's management, there's web design, there's also interior design or interior architecture. That's also part of fashion, and part of like the arts itself. And there's so many other courses you can take upon yourself, and it develops. It's a really good thing to know if you want to go into the business, if you want to go into like the business world, but you also want to know about the fashion as well. There's a lot of courses that you can take upon in different ways. You guys, yeah. So another thing is the assessments. So if you're not a written exam person, there's always oral exams, or you get you get essays, reports, you get your dissertations, you've got to do portfolios of 2D and 3D work. There's sketchbooks, research books, research, like as in going to the library to get books, or there's looking at creating blogs or presentations. And depending on what course you take up, there will be that small exam, but it wouldn't be the majority bit for you to go on. And then so in case you're interested in fashion, or want to do something in fashion business, or somewhere along those lines, there's always like a couple of universities that I would recommend, and it'll be in the resources that'll be sent out to the students. So places like Central St. Martin's, London College of Fashion, University of Westminster, those are part of the London ones. In case you want to go outside of the UK, there's places like Parsons in New York. There's the Fashion Institute of Technology. There's an ESMOD that's in Paris and Dubai. And there's one in Milan. So in case you want to go outside of the UK to study, you can always look at different places. And I think that's it from me. Back to you, John.
Yeah, thank you, Kaycia, for that insightful presentation and for sharing your journey into fashion with us. I loved hearing the reality behind so many of the stereotypes in the industry, especially the one about how people actually do eat. That was a relief. We will now take a few questions, so please feel free to use the chat box or use the raise your hand feature on Zoom to ask Kaycia yourself. The first one we have is about higher education. Knowing that you're doing your undergraduate studies, is it possible to go to further development, such as a postgraduate, master's, or PhD?
Yeah, that's always possible. I mean, I know from like professors, I've learned that you can go so far that it's not even possible for me to even think of. Like, I have a professor, he's really young, and he's gone through a difficult situation, and between his identity of who he is, and he's grown up with parents who are so strict of being like, you have to go into medicine or you have to go into dentistry, but he went into fashion, and now he's gone so far that he has a PhD in dance and fashion, which is outstandingly amazing. I mean, I have to give it to him. So yeah, you can go towards so many levels of studying.
Wow, that's amazing. I'm sure so many of us weren't even aware that you could do a PhD in fashion and dance. So that's really great to know that there are further opportunities available in education in the creative industries. And the second question we have is, as a fashion student, how have you found being part online and part in person at university?
Okay, I actually didn't like it being online. Because you need that kind of feeling to be in class, and being at home is not the easiest. You've got family around, you don't really have the space to do much. So I mean, it compared to me going back to class now, I actually feel a little bit more relieved. But I do want to go back fully, which means having my lessons in class, my seminars and lectures, where I can jump between going all the way to Barbican and going all the way to Oxford Circus, just to spend that central London vibe. I think that's where I feel like I want to go back.
Yeah, definitely. I think we can all relate with you on that one. Like, although studying at home has its own perks, I think we're all itching to get back to normal and to see the lights of Oxford again. So, yeah, definitely can understand that. The next question we have is, what are the job opportunities, and is it easy or hard to get a job in the fashion industry?
So it's a yes and a no. I mean, it is very hard. Right now, it's literally a competitive game in the fashion industry. You have to be able to know people. So that's why we have the third year placements where we go into industries, so that when you come out, you can easily get a job with them, or you can come. You have those connections and you have that experience, and you can take it to any other company and say, I've worked with this place. And that's how you start your journey in the fashion industry, actually.
Yeah, I definitely agree there. I don't think there's anything quite like having work experience. So I can definitely see how having done a placement and networking could come in handy when looking for jobs in such a competitive industry, like you said. Is there a particular area of fashion or art that you are really passionate about?
So if I think for me, because I think before I even started this course, I just wanted to do fashion itself. I think I didn't really want to do anything else in art, because that was just my side hobby. But in terms of doing fashion, I think I wanted to do like a garment technology. But now coming into like bags and accessories, I cannot get enough of it. I really can't get enough.
Oh, that's so great to know that you're really loving what you're doing, because you're doing that at university anyway. So that's really great.
Yeah.
The other question we have is, if it wasn't fashion, what would you have done?
Um, well, I have from my mom's side, she's in dentistry, and my dad's side, he's in the legal field. So, they were always debating I should go into, paralegal or do something in the legal field. But I did do a course in business, so even if I didn't do fashion, I would do something in the business field, or kind of follow my dad's steps somewhere along the line.
Well, that's great to know. Yeah, it's great that you're following your passion. I think that's an inspiration to so many of us. Another question we have is, how did you get into sewing?
How did I get into sewing? I think I used to pick up small things at home and like kind of give that kind of garment a life again. And I think I actually started with my prom dress. Had to be for my prom dress. I think the second time I went to my friend's prom, and I took my dress and I literally like redid it so that it was to my liking. And I think from then I've actually loved it. But another bit to it would be my nanny's sewing machine. That's the biggest thing for me. So seeing her stitching, and even off the machine. So I've learned hand stitching throughout my life. So I think, yeah, that's how I've learned to pick up on sewing.
Yeah, I love what you said there about giving clothes a second life. I think especially in today's climate, when we're thinking more about sustainability, that's
Yeah.
really relevant. So yeah, that's great. What would you recommend to somebody who wants to learn?
I mean, I would recommend if you're starting off to do fashion or even anything in the arts, I would say go for a foundation first, just so that you know where exactly you stand. And I mean, if you want to, yeah, I think that's. But if you want to do something in business, you can always do like whatever you're doing in business, and just find that company after where you want to work with them.
Yeah, that's some great advice. And in terms of your cohort, are there many students on your course, or is it quite small?
It's actually quite big. We've got so the maximum they can take in is 25, because there's only so many students we can take for them to teach us, because they have to do one-on-ones as well. It gets quite tough if you get like 50 or more students. So for my course, it's about 25, but in terms of any other course, it can go further up.
Okay, that's great. And maybe a slightly more challenging one, where do you see yourself in 10 years' time?
Ooh. I think I'd like to have my own line, my own fashion line one day. Yeah, I think that's where I see myself in 10 years, trying that.
I think I will definitely be your first customer. So I'm looking forward to that as well. Another question we have is, do your siblings model for you and help you?
No. No. I mean, I'm the only girl at home, so I don't really have much of a menswear. So no, I haven't really gone to anyone to ask for help.
Okay, I guess it's in the. And another question we have is, do you enjoy the diversity of your course?
Yeah, I do. I mean, like I think I went to class yesterday, and I literally couldn't believe how many people came in, and I hadn't even met them. So we've got people like from European countries, we've got a Russian people, we've got so many people, especially from the Asian countries. It's really interesting to find a lot of people coming in. Yeah.
Yeah, that's great to know. Thank you so much, Kaycia, for answering those questions. Unfortunately, that's all we have time for today. But if you have any other questions, Kaycia would be happy to answer them. So please send them to her through the contact details that will shortly be posted in the chat box. We will be sending out all the resources from this talk later this evening. But before you go, we would really appreciate it if you could fill out the evaluation form for tonight, as we would really value your feedback for future Skillshare sessions. The link for that will be put in the chat, or you can scan the QR code, which is shown on the screen. Thank you so much, Kaycia, for your time this evening and sharing insight into what it's like to study fashion with us.